been doing quite a few cozy boots on the channel lately, so when I saw that Crocs makes a cozy version of their clogs, it only felt right to cut apart a pair of these comfy, cozy clog Crocs. Did you know that testosterone levels have been decreasing substantially over the generations? Our father's generation had testosterone levels that are 25% higher than ours today, which is a huge bummer. So if you're like me and you have a hard time concentrating as you get older and you don't have as much energy and you catch yourself pouring a few extra cups of coffee, your testosterone might be to blame. And if you have low testosterone, it's not even necessarily your fault. There's a lot of factors that could be affecting it, even like environmental changes. And today in the US alone, there's 30 million men that have low testosterone that is affecting their daily lives. But the good news is Hone Health is here to help. There's a lot of misconceptions about testosterone, which is more than just a sex hormone. Optimizing your testosterone can lead to increased energy, increased muscle mass, more focus, and better overall mood. And Hone helps men get tested and treatment for low testosterone from the comfort of your own home. The entire process is really easy. All you have to do is collect a sample, mail it back to the lab. Once your results are ready, you'll have a video chat with a real doctor who will recommend a personalized treatment based on your biomarkers and symptoms. And treatments include FDA-approved medication, and they get delivered right to your front door. And although I'm far from a medical expert, Hone Health is, and they'll be with you every step of the way. So order Hone's easy-to-use at-home assessment test today to learn your testosterone levels. And for a limited time, if you use the link in my description, you can get the at-home test and the doctor consultation for $45. So click the link in the description below or go to honehealth.com/Anvil to take advantage today. Thanks to Hone Health for sponsoring this video. So now let's go over the boot information. So the brand is Crocs. The style is the classic lined Neo Puff Boot. The color I have is Canary. They weigh 10 ounces. They retail for $74.99 and they're made in Vietnam. So what is this boot and how does Crocs position this boot? Well, in their words, boot up in a new lined version featuring a lined nylon funnel neck so you get the best of both worlds. Classic with a boot look, lifetime wardrobe staples beloved by millions of all ages. To me, this is a boot in the most loosest terms. It's a very, very casual boot. So I'll be putting this review through that lens and not trying to compare it to actual boots. And I personally love these boots. I love how ugly they are and how ridiculous they look, and they are super, super comfortable. So now let's go over the information that we can gather about this boot before we cut it in half, starting with the upper. The upper part of this boot is made of nylon, this part that looks like, it's almost like a jacket, and they call it their loose nylon funnel neck. And it also has this little bungee that you can cinch down to tighten it around your ankle to prevent snow and other stuff from getting to the inside of your boot. Is the upper water resistant or waterproof? We'll run it under a little bit of water and it immediately soaks into the nylon. It's not treated in any way with any sort of waterproofing, which is kind of a bummer. And speaking of the inside, it does have a really nice soft polyester lining. It's almost like a fake fur that is super cozy and surprisingly warm for how thin this is. And the insole is made of that same material, that fuzzy polyester, and it seems like it's glued in, but I'm not really sure if it's a separate insole or if it's part of the lining and the upper of this boot. So we'll see when we get it cut in half. And then to the construction of this boot, it's a super simple construction. It's just literally one stitch line holding that upper and the lining to the actual Croc bottom itself, which is far from the sturdiest construction because all you have to do is pop one of these stitches and this whole thing's eventually going to come unraveled and the entire lining of the boot might come out. And granted, these are a very casual boot, but they are $75. And if I spent $75 on a boot and it only took one tiny stitch to pop for the whole thing to come unraveled, I would be a little upset. It seems a little careless in the construction of this boot. And then to the outsole of this boot, and I'm considering this entire foam Croc part the outsole because it's one solid piece of injection molded EVA foam. And contrary to popular belief, these little nubs on the side here are not braille, they're just there for the look. But being made of EVA foam is why Crocs are so comfortable because I would say 95% of shoes that have a foam layer is made of an EVA foam. And it's just a really soft, squishy, yet supportive foam that does slowly compress over time, but there's a reason that most shoes use EVA foam. And then obviously you've got the 4-wheel drive strap on the back for when you get in really harsh conditions, you lock that baby in, your heel stays locked. But there is one giant glaring hole in this design, and it's these holes at the top of the shoe that go directly to the lining of the boot. You might be thinking that these holes might not be that big of a deal, and if anything, they're a little bit of a benefit because it allows your feet to breathe and it doesn't make your feet quite as swampy. But the problem is, if you get anything on the inside of the shoe, there's no way to get it out. You'd have to literally shake whatever's on the inside out, because you can't get it out from the inside. There's no way to take anything apart to get anything out of there. And once again, these are $75. And so to have such a huge design flaw in like a $20 shoe, I wouldn't care as much, but for $75 to have that big of a design flaw, it's not great. But before we jump to any conclusions, let's run a quick test to see how big of an issue these holes really are.
They look like someone just took a shit on your foot. Oh, patty cake, patty cake. That's how they make Rolos. Oh, gross.
Oh no, I spilled my chips.
So as you saw, stuff really does get stuck on the inside of there, and really the only way to get stuff out of there is to squeeze these shoes like a giant zit. So this really is, in my opinion, the biggest design flaw by a mile of any booter shoe I've ever seen. It's such a stupid idea. It's so bad. And even if you only wear these in the house and you never leave, you still have a chance of dropping little food crumbs on the inside, or anytime you're doing anything, there's a chance it could fall on the inside of your shoe. Like, just imagine if you're cooking and on occasion a few crumbs get on the inside and they slowly start building up and slowly start rotting. Now your $75 Crocs smell like rotten food and your foot's on the inside of it. So now let's cut this Croc in half to see what's on the inside, but also to see how much buildup's actually on the inside and to see where it settles on the inside of this boot. This is by far the nastiest cut in half I've ever done, but let's see what's inside. So at least the insole is glued in, and it is backed with a little bit of foam lasting board, and it is strobel stitched to the upper. So if that one stitch line did pop, you would have to actually pull it out and undo the glue underneath, and it is pretty lightly glued. It's not glued super well. So it's not maybe as bad as I thought, but now you can see how bad of a design those holes in the toe really is. You can see that it's just gonna slowly seep not only just to the front of the liner, but slowly underneath of the liner because it's not glued all the way to the toe. So you could easily get a bunch of buildup underneath of where your toes sit, which is gross. And you could see how eventually, even just getting water on the inside of there is slowly gonna get the inside of the boot wet and make your toes soggy. And if you spilled a glass of milk, all that milk is going directly to the lining, which you would have to wash these to try to clean that out, and then you just have a stinky milk shoe. So why would they put holes in the toe of the boot when it clearly makes it a significantly worse and less functional boot? Well, there's one reason and one reason only, and that's to sell more jibbitz. So what are jibbitz? They're those little teeny charms that people buy to pop into those little holes in their Crocs to decorate their Crocs. So instead of making this a functional and viable boot, they sacrifice any amount of functionality just to sell you more Crocs junk. This boot is the definition of fast fashion because they sell you a garbage boot that you can adorn with more garbage that within a couple years just ends up in the garbage. It just seems grossly wasteful to make thousands and thousands of these boots that aren't even functional as a boot and sell them for $75. Then within a couple years they're gonna end up, when the Crocs trend ends, they're all gonna end up in the landfill. That being said, I still kind of love these boots because of how stupid they are and how ugly they are, and more importantly, how comfortable they are. Even though it is the textbook example of brands using their name and their hype to sell absolute undeniable garbage at the expense of everybody but themselves. And I hate that. And that's a huge part of the reason why I started this channel, is because they can't keep getting away with it.
You can't keep getting away with it!
But there is some good news. I think I found a very similar boot that might be made the right way, made by Uggs. Even though we threw a lot of shade at Uggs for their classic boot. And if you haven't seen that video, check this one out. This boot might surprise you. But this boot we're gonna cut next because I think this is a very similar vibe and style, but it looks like it's done the right way. So this video will be coming up next, and thank you for watching, and let me know what you think of this. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe there's something I'm missing in this, but it just seems like this is the absolute worst thing I've ever cut in half. And thank you for your support. And if you're in the giving mood, the house that I live in, the detached garage burned down, along with all of my roommates' motorcycles and dirt bikes and tools, and the insurance didn't even get close to covering any of it, so there's a GoFundMe, and I'll put a link to that in the description, and thank you guys for considering helping those guys out, and I'll see you in the next video of the Uggs redemption video. See ya.